guys, we have a special treat today. We're here with Officer Ramos of the Florida Fish and Wildlife, and he is here today. He made a special trip over here to Rooks Marina here in Pensacola to talk to us about boating safety. And we were talking just before we got on the camera about how comparing the safety of driving a car versus the safety of driving a boat, and Officer Ramos made a really good observation that I hadn't really thought of until recently, and that is when you're on a street, there is a controlled environment.
Yes,
like you said, right?
Very much.
You got lanes, you got painted areas where cars can go and they can't go, and everybody knows direction of travel. It's not like a car can come off of a non-street and just cross in front of you. But in the water, even though there's channel markers or whatever, there's nothing that says a boat can't come just straight across you at any point in time, right?
For the most part, yeah. No, there are operators are bound by what we call navigational rules. Those are set by the United States Coast Guard, and there's a set of standards, and when we have to apply those rules. But for the most part, if you're in open water, two vessels going any two directions you choose is perfectly okay, as long as those vessels are conscious of one another. And in a situation like that, you have what's called a stand-on vessel and a give-way vessel. And that's kind of those technical terms. Basically, it's not, we call it kind of rules of the road, but the technical term is stand on and give on. Basically, you have to maintain situational awareness while you're out there on the water, because like you said, boats or canoes or kayaks or divers, anybody could be coming from any direction. And if folks are paying attention to that, if they're maintaining situational awareness, they're checking behind them on the sides, their passengers aren't being disruptive or unruly, and letting that operator do a good job of scanning around, and it can be a great day on the water. And failure to do those things, it could end up in a bad day.
So here's the deal. Like, if you take the average vehicle on the road, like out here, and you say, okay, how many different things do you have to consider to stay aware? There's a finite number of things that you have to consider. You got a person behind you, potentially, on the side of you, in front of you. You have, when you get to an intersection, you may have other cars that may be crossing.
Right.
You have driveways here and there, but in a boat, it's completely uncontrolled.
It's a lot different. And then the fact of the matter is, most people who are driving have been driving for a number of years, for quite some time, and folks will, say they have this many years of driving experience on the roads. Very few people on the water have a large number of boating hours in their boats. And then when you compound it with rental agencies who rent out pontoons or jet skis, or the folks that go down here may have never operated a vessel before in their lives, and now they're out there on the open waters next to you. And that's nothing wrong with that per se, but it makes you as an operator of a boat, you need to be a lot more cognizant of that and understand that everybody around you doesn't have your experience. And then like you said, other environmental factors, waves, wind, rain, heavy swells from other vessels coming through, and just really can disrupt everything. And if you're not paying attention and have your passengers help you out with maintaining a good, proper lookout, the potential for disaster is there.
No doubt. All right, and then if you mix alcohol into the equation, you're taking a fluid environment that we've already talked about, more dangerous than the typical driving environment in a lot of ways, and then you mix a substance into the deal that makes you less able to perceive stuff around you. It's a recipe for disaster.
It really is, Joe, and that's one of the things that we love to get out and talk to the public about and educate folks. And there's nothing wrong with having an alcoholic beverage on the boat. It's not illegal for the operator of the boat to have an alcohol beverage while he's operating the boat, but it is very illegal for him to be impaired while doing it. Because just like you said, if all these other factors in this environment are coming to play together, somebody who's under the impairment of alcohol or drugs isn't going to have that reaction time, isn't going to be able to look in anticipation of a collision or something coming down the waterway and avoid that collision. And unfortunately, we see all too many deaths and tragic boating accidents because of impairment. And that's the reason why we're out doing what we do, and love opportunities like this to talk to the public and just put a plan together. Just like if you're going to go out downtown in Halifax for Friday night for gallery night, you have a designated driver. It should be no different when you take a boat out. If folks on the boat want to, have some drinks, okay, but have the operator of the boat abstain so he can get you out there to the beach and back home again at the end of the day safely.
That's good advice. All right, so we're going to do a couple segments with Officer Ramos, but this segment basically was dealing with the difference between driving a car and driving a boat, and how in a lot of ways it's a lot more dangerous to drive a boat than even a car. And so it's the kind of things that we don't even think about in everyday life, such as the direction of travel of all the other vessels, that's not controlled in any way in a boat. So that's why it makes it really important to be of really good sound mind when you're out on the water, so that you don't misperceive something, you don't fail to perceive something. And so in this segment we just wanted to touch on those, and I appreciate it very much. We're going to do a couple other segments with you, but if you've got a plan, like Officer Ramos says, before you get on the water, you're a lot less likely to end up in a situation where you have a collision and get injured.
Let me play one more thing on that, Dave. So before you ever leave and get on the way for your destination, please go through all your boating safety equipment. FWC officers, we have the authority to stop vessels out on the way just to check safety equipment, and we want to make sure that prevention, is taking place. So a proper sized life jacket, or what we call a PFD, the personal flotation device, for everybody on board. That means that if you and I are going out, I have to have 2 adult life jackets. If you, I, and your 5-month-old niece come out, I have to have a appropriate size life jacket for that young niece. Some people, in that case, yes, because 6 years or younger, they have to keep it on when the boat's in motion. But all those rules are put out by the U.S. Coast Guard. We enforce those, but those rules are in place to keep the public safe. You can always go on our website or the Coast Guard website and get more information about those. But we are always going to look for life jackets, other safety equipment that's required. There's going to be a fire extinguisher in most cases. There's a few cases where it's not. But having a fire extinguisher on the board, and also a Type 4 throw cushion, and that is a U.S. Coast Guard device that can be tossed out to somebody who gets ejected overboard and is in distress. So those are some of the requirements, and depends on where you're at, depends on the length of the vessel and things like that. But if you are operating the vessel as the captain of that boat, and usually we'll address you as captain as a professional courtesy, whether you've got 100 years of experience or 1 day on it, we're going to address you as captain because that's just a professional courtesy we do. But whoever's operating that boat, whoever the captain of that boat is responsible for having that safety equipment on the boat and everybody's safety on there, and their conduct as well.
All right, we're going to do another segment just on the safety stuff, but he pointed out some really good points. We're going to put links to all this down underneath all these videos, so that you'll have those and you'll be able to access all this information via their website or the Coast Guard's website. But we appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you. Thank you.